to your weekly program, BelAhdan, a show with an accent for those without one. I'm sure all of you now heard about what is Donald Trump is trying to spread in this country, all kind of lies, all kind of racist statements, factual, making up statistic, talking about the Mexican, now talking about the Muslims, banning them from coming to this country, even if you are a Muslim Americans. This is something very new and very different. I don't know what's going on with the Republican Party, what Ben Carson talking about. We shouldn't allow a Muslim to be a president. Now we shouldn't even allow Muslims to come altogether. What is with the Republican Party and what is with Donald Trump? What is this phenomenon? What does it say about America, about our culture, and about the direction we are going? We have a very special guest today. We have Bob Meek. He's a political consultant. You heard him on public radio. He's very active in the political arena nationally and internationally. Welcome to BelAhdan. Bob, I know you today is your birthday.
Oh, thank you.
I saw it on Google. Google is, Ayatollah Google. You don't have to remember anything.
We all know where to.
Where we turn.
Yeah,
right. You don't even. And I brought you some 3 cuties because
thank you.
Very few people they get this curious, but you can deal with them at any point of this interview.
See, no, but this is perfect because most of politics is a shell game.
So they try to distract you on fact. So what is the distraction that Donald Trump, the idea this is a new phenomenon? I don't buy that. Racism and bigotry is as old in this country as apple pie. Somebody was saying that as salon. So this is very old, and the Italian, German, the Japanese, the Jew, and all of this. What is about Americans that mainstream that there is xenophobia about certain group of people, and now it's embodied in Donald Trump's statements, and he's becoming now the running up or front runner of the Republican Party. So what does it say about us and about politicians and politics in this country?
Well, it underlines that just as a society, we do not allocate very much quality time, so to speak, to political thought. If people did, if that was something that employers encouraged, or even that schools were successful in inculcating in people to take that time, I mean, we have the best. Talking about the god of Google, we have the best ability to research anything people could come up with.
Information out there.
You would know immediately how many of the statements, for instance, that come out of Donald Trump are, what does Rachel Maddow call it, bull hockey, that simply aren't true.
Yeah.
And if we were having those kind of debates in the country that were somewhat confined by fact, do you have a citation for that? Is there some evidence? But no, I mean, we have a political system that is designed for Donald Trump in that and it is, back to the Hitler playbook. I mean, the bigger the lie, the more people will believe it.
So what is stopping people from searching for certain information? I know New York Times has a very interesting piece about the search on Google analysis, how people search, what the key words that been searching, and they found as a spike in search about I hate Muslim, kill Muslims, and then when Obama say, well, Muslims are in the sport, he spikes people searching Muslim sport, and when somebody say Muslims in the military, people will go and search. So what is stopping people from fact checking what those racist statement that coming out of Trump and Ben Carson, and the rest of the Republican Party is not even any different that much.
It's to the extent that people people believe things that reinforce their own biases. And so Trump is, he's just playing to the choir. He, however, is rich enough and as experienced a media personality as any. He has pretty much, just the other candidates, they're like dandruff that he's just brushing aside. He is so far ahead of people, and he's willing to do anything. I mean, he goes on Fox and he attacks their lead female anchor. He announces, labels Mexicans as rapists and drug lords. And now, I mean, there are a very good political scientist, whose name I can't quite remember. But anyway, she's done the theory. What Trump is trying to do is he's trying to win each news cycle. Any news cycle in which he is not the dominant character, that's a bad day for Trump. So he invents, he has to go, so one day he'll call for getting rid of women, and then the next day it'll be getting rid of Mexicans, and then the third day it'll be getting rid of the whole religion of Muslims. He will do anything as long as he's winning these media cycles.
But is this this is done in vacuum? Is he a maverick that he has his own focus group and consultant that they say we're going to do this today, we're going to do this, or he really represents a lot of Americans out there that are saying the same thing, but they don't have the money or the resources to come and say it on Fox or MSNN.
Yeah. Well, if your liver is supposed to bend over backwards to be fair, maybe he sincerely believes the things he's saying. There are people who
he's a capitalist. He's a money grabbing. He has the biggest tower in Istanbul. He grabs money. He will give visa to Muslim money any second. He wouldn't care.
But
Muslim money is good.
But no. In American politics, we have sort of lost the ability to stay within. Here's the truth. Here are the things that we have a common agreement on, and then we can debate those items within that set of facts. Trump is beyond the set of facts. What he says, he simply believes is the truth. If he's said it, if there are these thousands and thousands of people in Paterson, New Jersey that I saw that were out there celebrating the destruction of the Twin Towers, it makes no difference that, maybe his psychologist or whoever counsels him would say, well, but Donald, you're conflating. There was some, footage out of the Mideast that maybe came up, and in your brain you've confused it with happening in New Jersey and so forth.
He'll fire him.
Well, so that would be, say, one angle of Trump. Now, the other angle would be, no, he purposely knew that was the way for him to get himself on the top of that day's news cycle. That if he could say that outrageous thing, he would. Now, I will take this all the way to the absurd, which is a story many people might be familiar with by now. There's an argument that he's a plant by the Democrats.
Hillary in Pacific.
By the Democratic Party to destroy the Republican Party.
I like that theory.
To destroy their brand, et cetera, et cetera.
But that's nothing new about the Republican Party. Bush the father who came up with this. What's the name of the black the running revolving the Holton whatever. So this is nothing new about the Republican Party. And why the reaction to Donald Trump as if this is something new, this is un-American? And really, when I hear people say, even Bush, the son, who say he is unhinged, I think.
Right.
So even the people that are running with him, they're criticizing him. But in fact, this is very American.
Yes.
When you look at the history of American, somebody was saying more than 80% of American history was based on slavery, based on white supremacy, based on white privilege, and all of this. Our law, our constitution supported that. So what about Trump now that people talk as if something new, something outrageous? I'm talking about even the most critical. I'm sure millions of people agree with Trump, but a lot of people that are really criticizing or criticizing Trump, they are talking about that's something just never happened before, or something new and something un-American, which I don't think it's all true.
Well, it is the highest degree of inflammatory rhetoric, but even beyond that, it's not just mean-spirited. Mm-hmm. It's also the man truly wants to be president.
Really?
I mean, yeah.
So he really think our political system will allow this kind of outrages and this kind of lies and this kind of will allow him to be a president. That's not doesn't say much for our political system.
No. Now, two elections in my lifetime, so they're way before most of your viewers. But Barry Goldwater,
very old audience.
Barry Goldwater in 1964. He had the same kind of absolute loyal and absolute, in many cases, racist following. And he, for various reasons, lost the presidency in a record landslide. On the other hand, Ronald Reagan, which is kind of just the other side of the coin of Goldwater, Democrats were like, oh, yes, let him be the candidate. He was the bedtime for Bonzo. He was the B-movie star. Oh, he'll be easy to beat. Well, that could be Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. And the idea that our politicians are just full-time entertainers as it is. And Donald Trump it's like he's calling, here's the political elite, well, he's calling their bluff. I'll come in, I'll write my own rule book. Every other week people say, oh, Trump has gone too far, now there's no way he can continue his campaign. He'll go down.
And his number goes up.
And then what does he do? Comes out and effectively calls his principal opponent at that time, Ben Carson, was beginning just to get a little bit over Trump in the polls. And somehow Trump came up with this manner where he was able to get the words Ben Carson and child molester right next to each other in a sentence, although it's all absurd and it's all, Donald Trump is not a person that we go to for a definition of what pathology would be about. But he did enough upsetting that suddenly Carson lost half of his support. I mean, Trump knows he knows exactly what he's doing.
Where is coming from? When does even when you look at even his experience as a businessman, it wasn't like he's that visionary businessman. It was all about trade, putting his name on bill. It was even his business model is really full of opportunistic and So what you can tell from his business experience. I know he was successful, but it wasn't really something Jobs, Apple, the people who really has vision and left an impact on our society.
I hate to give people in my profession, i.e. marketing, such a bad name, but that's what Donald Trump is, and that's what his business is. I mean, what are Trump golf courses?
Yeah.
Well, there are places where corporations write
checks.
the check for their people to take their clients out. Okay, and what are Trump hotels? Places where, and
Gamble.
so what Trump has is he knows how to get corporations to write out the check. And through his experience with The Apprentice and whatever, 14 years in that, he knows how to get eyeballs. He knows how you keep your show on the air. It's very dangerous if a person who has no particular compunction about one day he's pro-choice, the next day he's hardcore pro-life. I mean, but he's just calling American politics to account and kind of shaming American politics.
So was this in the making, in the last, like, say, 20 some years when, corporate media, celebrity media, and all of that? So as much we're talking about Trump, but he represents things happening in our society. Light knowledge, celebrity, flashing, and people making judgment based on very little knowledge or none.
So here's the good side.
Yeah, please. Been waiting for this for a while.
He is the object lesson. We can either go down the tubes with him or take him as this is the object lesson of what happens when you pay no attention to your political debate and what's going on.
Oh.
And the statistic that I've had proven by very renowned national pollster is that the average American, on average, spends all of 10 minutes a month thinking about politics.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, if you do that for enough decades,
How much on sport?
this is what you end up with. Because at this point, he's free to say whatever he wants, make any charges, any slurs, any accusations. And in America, the easiest comparison would be Joe McCarthy, who in the 50s with the Red Scare, everyone became a communist and everyone in the State Department was a communist. But then the reporters would say, well, how many? And one day he'd say, well, I don't know, there might be 100. And then the next day, oh, it could be 200. And finally, he attacked people so injudiciously and it was such unwarranted attacks that the counsel to the Army was able to say, Senator McCarthy, have you no shame? Is there anything that you won't do?
So hopefully there'll be, kind of backlash on that kind of thinking, or we're going to go down the tube with him.
Well,
I will not stand for that kind of.
And the practical politics that's sorting itself out is, let's say Donald Trump is just a reflection of a half or a third of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Well, if that's true, then
we'll have to deal with this reality.
Well, if there's a respectable part of the Republican Party, they're going to have to draw a line. They're going to have to draw the so-called
And
red line.
I think also it's not just the Republican conservative and right-wing Christian. I think now it's becoming mainstream, that anti-Islam and anti-Mexican and all, and that's where we scary part is becoming a mainstream conversation.
Yep.
Those kind of racist, bigot, xenophobic discussion and debate will be a private party at the bar, at a press box in a football game. Now it's a mainstream, now on CNN, now on NA. But I think George Orwell once said, thoughts corrupt language. When you have kind of lousy, thoughts, your language going to reflect that. But now it's the other way around. The language. Is he kind of, this language that he uses has no base in reality. Now it's corrupting our thoughts and our idea. Now you can see people's attitude toward Muslims or Mexican or whatever. really changing as this kind of language is spouted in the mainstream media.
He gives permission for the worst in American rhetoric to actually rise to the surface. And, you know, his whole crusade from the first minute of the Republican debates was, you know, I'm against political correctness. Well, what he's, you know, just said is, you can take all the rules of conduct that have been written for the last so many decades and just toss them aside. And the anger, he may have enough in any given state, like Iowa or New Hampshire, or South Carolina. He may have enough to, you know, claim himself a third or maybe as much as a half of the delegates, probably not. But what happens starting with Florida around March 15th, that's like the fourth big event of the primary season, is it then becomes a winner-take-all contest. And so whoever has the plurality, whoever among those 15 Republican candidates has the 35%, they get 100% of the delegates from that state. Well, when that starts happening, if Trump is the winner in those kind of contests, and we'll know that on March 15th, then he'll be their nominee. And if he's their nominee, as a person once taught me, no matter what goes on, it's still a flip of a coin in America. It's either going to be the Republican or the Democratic nominee who becomes president.
Based on that chances of
So
those,
let's just put the capper on it. God help us.
If that's the case, it's a flip of a point. Why we spend $20 billion on elections? Why can't we just save this money and flip the coin?
To be too honest.
You are too honest. Well, Bob, you know, thank you so much for coming and sharing this with us, and I think you enjoy your beauty year. Happy birthday again, and we'll see you next week. And assalamu alaikum, and God bless you all. All, not just Trump. Everybody.
I'm sorry. I don't know that he's hard to talk about.
Yeah, I know. It's a family show.
Yeah. Well, he's as you point out, he's just an embarrassment. He is. But we've made it possible. We've lowered the standards.
People start speaking his language. Women wearing hijab, terrorists go home. So I don't know about America.